Hello, it's me.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, welcome to our podcast. That was Adele. Thanks, Adele. You're awesome.
Wow.
We can go back to Britain now. Hi, welcome. We are the Underpaid Gamers. This is our podcast. We're going to talk about video games. We're going to talk about some news. Some tournaments happened recently. Civil War trailer dropped. And I watched The Hunger Games, the last movie, Mockingjay Part 2, or whatever it's called. So we're going to talk about that. This is Justin. Oh, my name's Tony. Yep, that's the thing. My name's Tony.
Hi, Tony.
This is Justin making all the noise, the rapper.
I am.
He's eating some Swedish fish I got for free.
They're so good.
And we have a song, and this is it.
And we're back.
Hey.
So, Tony.
Sure. What's up?
How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah? How's your gaming life been?
It's going well. It's going okay. Let's see. Listen, people are going to hate me for this.
I'm listening, and they probably already do.
I have Black Ops 3.
Yes.
And I have Fallout 4.
Uh-huh.
And one of them has getting more attention than the other.
I know which one.
Specifically, Black Ops 3.
Mm-hmm.
I have this thing with Fallout games where I buy them and I play them for like a little bit, and then I stop, and then later I go back. So I think that's going to happen. Right now I'm prestiging and getting all this stuff in Black Ops 3, and all my friends are playing it. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, I definitely feel that Fallout 4 doesn't lose anything if you wait and play it at a different time, as opposed to if you wait and play Call of Duty in like 2 years, then it's kind of worthless.
Yeah.
So, and multiplayer.
And Fallout 4 has a lot of bugs people keep calling. People keep complaining about all the bugs.
Yeah.
And they just get updated. When they get updates, it'll be fixed.
Yep.
Hopefully that's the hope.
That's the hope. And I heard the UI for the settlement building is not very good. At least as of right now.
The what?
The UI user interface for settlement building.
I thought it was alright. I don't know.
I don't know either, because I don't have the game. But I will have the game eventually when I have enough time to set aside for my life to be destroyed.
So, in like a month?
Yeah, I just this is kind of like a meditation period for me, where I'm just preparing myself.
This is a hyperbolic time chamber situation.
Essentially, I'm training, getting prepared. I'm going to be drafting a letter to all my friends and family, telling them, don't expect to hear from me over the course of the next 3 weeks as I dive into a video game world and ignore the rest of my life.
Yep.
So that's happening.
Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
So now would be a perfect time for someone to murder you. Because nobody would know until like 3 months.
That's true. They could murder me. Except for they wouldn't be able to because I'm too strong and too fast.
You're sitting in a dark room looking at a bright screen. They can sneak up on you real easily. And you have headphones. Listen, if you're planning on murdering Justin, wait for like a couple weeks and then just knock him out.
What? Are you wanting people to murder me?
Okay, listen, so I got some news here.
Okay. Yeah, let's change the subject.
Let's change the subject. The BioShock games, which I thought were ending after Infinite, are quoted as an unquestionably permanent game. That is quoted from Take-Two Interactive's CEO, I think, talking about the BioShock game. So I don't think they've announced a new game yet, but you can expect to see another BioShock game here coming eventually, as well as more than just one.
So it's going to be a franchise that continues on past the first three.
Yep, I think so.
Interesting.
I played all three of them. Mm-hmm. I beat one, and I beat Infinite, and I played like half of the way through 2 and never beat it. I just didn't think it was very good. So who knows what's going to happen.
I know it has a really, really big following. A lot of people really like it, yeah.
BioShock 1 was awesome. When it first came out, it was like this perfect world. It was so cool. Like,
it was
perfect,
scary.
Interactive. It
had cool powers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool story, engaging story.
Something that has never really been seen before. And BioShock 3 was kind of the same way. BioShock 2 was just like a copy and paste from BioShock 1.
Yeah, just different story.
Which is why I didn't really care for it.
Yeah.
There's this level, it's like an apartment building down in Rapture, and then you have to find this woman's like come in and to do things, I think. And that's the part where I always quit. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
Something like that, I don't know. So that's happening. Destiny has created a Refer a Friend program.
They're doing anything to get people to play that game.
So, I guess if you refer a friend, you get custom emotes and shaders and emblems and stuff like that. So, I don't know how you refer a friend and then you get points for it, but there's some more...
Are people still playing that game?
I think people are still playing...
Why are people still playing Destiny?
I don't know if people are still buying it new. Like, I think there's a crowd base that plays it. I don't think they've generated any new players.
I don't know how they would be. I guess the refer a friend program.
Unless the Taken King is doing really well, which it might be, but...
I haven't heard anything super amazing about it.
We just went to an elderly dinner with a friend. I call it elderly because we went to dinner at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, with all the old people who go to bed at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah. And he was talking about how he plays Destiny and he got the Taken King, but he's like 3 levels below max and has a below 300 light level, and nobody wants to play the raid with him.
Right, because he's a liability.
Because he's not the highest level. And that's the Destiny mentality.
I don't want to. I'm not playing Destiny again.
Yeah.
Until Destiny 2 comes out, I probably won't touch Destiny again.
Even if, Destiny 2 is not a guarantee either.
By this point, looking back, I did enjoy my time playing Destiny, and I put a lot of hours into it.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I literally did the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It was a constant grind. That's all it was. The multiplayer aspect was fun. I like doing the raids. Raids was the fun part, I would say. Then the multiplayer was all right.
The raids the first time when you have a group of people you actually know is fun. But when you have a random person in there and they always want to cheese something, I'm just like, let's just stop. Let's play it the way it's supposed to be played.
Right. And
we'll beat it. Instead of trying to cheese it and then we have to wipe to do it all over again.
I honestly never played with randos. I only ever played with you guys.
Well, there was 6 of us when we did the first and second raid, and then not all 6 of us could ever be on at the same time, and you need 6 people to do the raid, so it would always be 3 or 4 of us, and we get 2 random people.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying. So Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, the game,
oh my gosh,
sold more copies on PS4 than double Xbox One and PC combined.
Wow.
So...
impressive. Is it because of the PS4 bundle? Is that why?
Maybe. I don't know why.
I don't think there's
but for whatever reason,
a 360 bundle? I don't think there is.
Xbox One bundle? That might have been. No, I saw this thing where I think PlayStation has exclusive advertising rights to Battlefront for some reason.
Wow.
Because there's a game magazine where like the left page of the magazine, like the centerfold was Battlefront, PlayStation, all this, blah, blah, blah. And then on the next page, it was just Xbox, and it said also available on Xbox. And that was the advertisement.
Wow.
So I don't think Xbox can advertise for Battlefront or something like that.
Interesting.
But PS4 has so many more consoles out than Xbox. True. So it makes sense that they would sell more copies.
True. Though we did, since we released our Console Wars episode, there has been a month in which Xbox sold, or I think it was actually a quarter. I can't remember. Either way, there was like a month where, for the first time, Xbox One actually outsold the PlayStation.
I think that was the same time Halo came out.
Yeah, I think it was.
But still.
But 1 month, come on, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that happened.
And Battlefront's fun, by the way. I'm really enjoying it.
Tell us about how much fun you're having.
I really enjoy it. I think some of the goals they had that they expressed was that they wanted it to feel like the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a good job creating all of the vehicles and the locations. The whole game is visually beautiful, appealing.
Tell me what I really want to hear, which is what you're disappointed in
I know.
The game.
You just want it to fail. You're so negative.
I don't want it to fail.
You totally
but I knew it would because DICE...
How's it failing? It sold a ton of copies.
Because I don't think it sold that many copies.
Okay, we don't have the numbers, so we can't really
I don't have the numbers, but... Tell me what you're disappointed in.
So, what I've enjoyed... Vehicle combat. So much fun. What I have not enjoyed is, first off, the trophies in there, I just don't care about. And there's like a whole diorama thing where if you do challenges, you get little figurines for a diorama. Don't really care about that either. I think the biggest thing that annoys me is the lack of maps. Because they have lots of different maps, but for each game type, there seems to be like 4 maps. 1 for each planet. And so there are like 4 Walker Assault maps that are on 4 different planets. And then if you switch to like Droid Run, you have 4 different maps there that are all different planets, and they're different from the Walker Assault maps, but there's only 4, and it just rotates through those 4. So it's weird that there are so many like different maps, but they don't fit for every game type. So
how long do the games last? 20 minutes?
That depends on the mode.
Yeah.
I would say average 15 minutes, maybe 20.
Do you find yourself playing on the same map over and over again?
I mean, no, it rotates every single time. So,
or is there a specific rotation that goes in, like this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one?
I think it just goes through the list over and over. So you don't. But there's not a voting process. You just go on to the next map.
Go.
So if you play for an hour, you've played all 4 maps.
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting.
I've enjoyed the vehicle combat. It's so much fun. I am an ace when it comes to flying A-Wings and X-Wings.
The Red Baron.
So I really enjoy it just because, and like I remember I was playing in the living room and my roommates were sitting in there and I was using Luke Skywalker and I found the Emperor in the map and I killed him.
Aww.
And I like screamed at the top of my lungs and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And we were like freaking out because I killed the Emperor as Luke Skywalker. So it's like moments like that make me so happy. But I'm not gonna I don't take the game very seriously. It's just for me. It's just like a fun game that I don't play more than an hour usually when I play. I just play for a couple rounds and have some fun, fly some ships, and probably my favorite universe out of fiction.
Do they have
so I would say
custom lobbies, custom servers, or is it all dice servers?
What do you mean?
Because in Battlefield games, there's always custom servers. Like you can go onto a dice server, or you can go onto like a user generated server.
I don't think you can do that on PlayStation. However, I'm sure on PC you can. Because I know I've all the other Battlefields that I've played on PC.
Oh yeah,
and so I'm used to that on that. But I don't. You might be able to do it on PlayStation, but I don't know how.
Well, my Battlefield 3, I could do it on my PS3.
Could you?
Yeah. Towards the end of the lifespan, it would only be like user generated servers.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, you can't use this or this or this, or it'll get banned." I'm like, "That's dumb." So I play.
I hate those.
No.
So anyway, enjoyable game. I think if you're a diehard Star Wars fan like me, you should pick it up. If you like Star Wars, but you're not super diehard, I would say wait for a price drop. Just because the lack of maps. I really do feel that you can't binge play the game because it's the same thing. Unless you're switching modes every couple rounds.
Yeah, it's just repetitive.
It just gets repetitive. So that's my official thing.
DLC dropping for it, though.
There will be
maps.
The Battle of Jakku, which I've read about already in the books that I've been reading.
Ooh,
I know, exciting.
Insider information.
It's going to be dropping here next week. I believe December 8th. I don't know if that's the real date, but that's the date I have in my head for it. It comes out, and it's going to reveal Battle of Jakku, which apparently is an important battle in the Star Wars canon, where the Rebels do like a final battle against the huge might of the Empire. And so it's kind of like the crux battle that decides if the Rebel Alliance is actually going to become a new republic like it wants to be. So it's like D-Day. Or
D-Day.
A big battle like that. Or Okinawa. But probably
not
D-Day.
really like D-Day, because the United States are already a pretty big power. I don't think D-Day decided that the United States are going to be a power.
Okay. Without D-Day, though, how would we have gotten onto the European continent for fighting?
We would have dug under the ocean and came up.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the Atlantic Tunnel, duh.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
I don't know.
If anybody's listening and actually cares about history, I apologize about what we just talked about. Let's go.
Justin's a history teacher.
I am a history teacher. There was no Atlantic Tunnel. Please don't be fooled by the internet.
Mark Cuban. You know who Mark Cuban is?
Not off the top of my head.
Dallas Mavericks owner. Owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
Ring a bell?
Yeah, I gotcha.
He was at a League of Legends tournament.
Really?
He didn't sponsor it, but he was there. Like, he played... There was, like, an exhibition tournament between him and the CEO of Intel.
That's awesome. I love that.
So, he's a real good proponent for esports. However, while he was there, he was fined $30,000 for dropping the F-bomb twice.
What?
However, the money all went to the Cyber Smile Foundation,
mm-hmm.
which is what the League of Legends tournament was for, to support the Cyber Smile. So,
what's Cyber Smile? I don't know what that is.
I forgot when I made it, but I'll look it up real quick.
It sounds like a charity organization that is built around technology or gamers or online people.
It's against cyberbullying.
Okay.
So it's like anti-cyberbullying.
Respectful. Respect.
So yeah, the Cybersmile Foundation is that. So he dropped the F-bomb twice. The first one I think he did on accident. It was fined $15,000. And the second one was more staged.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you got charged $15,000 for the first one. What are you going to do now? He said he dropped it again. So he got fined another. But all that goes to the Cybersmile Foundation.
Yeah.
So it's a good cause.
So it's a good reason to drop an F-bomb.
It's a good reason to drop an F-bomb, to get fined for it. It's donating. He obviously is like worth like $3 billion. That means it's like pocket change.
Yeah, he makes that much in like 20 minutes.
Right. And then, like, it's just cool to have him be at an esports tournament.
Yeah, big names.
Yeah. Especially like Dallas Mavericks. There was Colin Cowherd earlier this year created a lot of drama about esports, and then there was an NBA player, I don't remember his name, that actually went on a Cowherd show and like told Cowherd off about how like esports is, and like the NBA player goes home and plays like League of Legends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was an article I read, I can't remember what it is, but we care about esports here.
We
so
do.
It's nice to see big names like that.
And supporter of all esports.
Speaking of esports, there was a Dota 2 tournament, the Frankfurt Majors.
The Frankfurt Majors!
Which had a $3 million prize pool, which is incredible.
$3 million?
Yeah.
What? I could do so much with $3 million.
Well, not it was for everybody. I think the winners just got like $1.5 million.
Okay. So $1.5 million?
Only $1.5.
I could live off that for the rest of my life if I was smart.
If you're smart. The winners were OG.
Wait, are you trying to say that Are you saying that I'm not smart?
Monkey Business team.
How dare you? So disappointed.
So they won. It was they fought long and hard through that, so they finally won. To get more into what we're talking today, I went and saw the Hunger Games. The opening weekend was this last weekend. I don't know, something like that. I have a grandfather clock that sounds very similar to that, and sometimes they get mixed up in my head. Yeah. Not here at my parents' house. There's clearly not a grandfather clock here.
There is not one in the room.
And also, the Civil War trailer dropped, so we will be talking about that.
We will.
Here in a second, as soon as I scroll all the way to the bottom of my notes. Okay, so the Hunger Games. This was the fourth and final movie of the Hunger Games. I had never read the books. You have read the books.
I have read the books.
You read all three of them?
I have read all three of them.
I have read 0 of them. The first Hunger Games I think I saw it in theaters. I'm like, man, this is really cool. Like, this whole Hunger Games situation, this Battle Royale thing they have going on, like, this is cool. I can get behind this.
Yeah.
And so the first movie I really liked. The second movie was not at all like the first movie. The second movie was more like, there's a revolution going on. There's some deep storyline.
Yeah.
So it almost seemed like the first book was kind of a standalone movie.
Yeah.
Whereas the second one, and then therefore the third and fourth movies, were all tied into each other.
Okay.
So I kind of so when I read, I don't know, I took it much more lighthearted, the Hunger Games book, the Hunger Games movie, than maybe I should have. Because it's kind of dark.
It is very dark.
Okay, it's very dark.
The whole idea that a civilization forces children to kill each other for sport, that's pretty dark, I'd say.
Yeah, but it never gave off the vibe that it was that dark. Because Jennifer Lawrence, who was the poster child of the Hunger Games, both the movie and a book, is like our age. So she's not super young. But there is younger people in the movie, but there's all these young kids that love the Hunger Games. And the Hunger Games is all over the media.
It's like a preteen. It's like a teen fiction book.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah, it is super.
So I don't think it's dark in that sense. That's how I don't see it. Yeah. But if you really get down to it, you can see that the Hunger Games is, I guess, pretty dark.
Yeah. I read the books in about a week. All of them. That's
what I hear. People that read the books read them through.
Yeah, they don't
stop.
I remember I was in college still, and after I don't remember how I got the book. I think one of my friends was like, Justin, you got to read it. I was like, all right, fine. So I went to the bookstore on campus, and they had all the copies. And I bought the first one, and I read the whole thing in 2 days. I just laid when I wasn't in class, I just laid on the couch and read. And then I picked up the second book, did it again, and I was like, holy cow, I love this. And the third book, I was like, oh gosh, I hate this. And then I was really mad.
Really?
I hated the third book.
We'll
it was
have to talk about it once we get there.
Bad. For so many reasons. First book was really good. Second book I enjoyed as well. But
there are incoming spoilers for the Hunger Games. if you have not read the books or seen the movies and you plan to, and you don't want to be spoiled,
you should probably skip forward like 15, 20 minutes.
And skip forward a little bit. But we're going to talk about it, I think, in depth.
I would say we should.
And we will talk about the movies and the books and the contrast between them. But first, I have a whole bunch of numbers here.
Okay.
To where I compared the Hunger Games with other teen fan fiction novels.
Okay.
Oh, not fan fiction, but teen fiction novels.
Okay.
Such as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. Oh, yeah, it is. Because the Mockingjay Part 2 was the smallest release of any of the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah.
The smallest opening weekend. This is all opening weekend numbers I have.
Mm-hmm.
It was the smallest. I didn't even know it was out until like the day it came out, and my wife was like, "Hey, let's go see it."
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of advertisement for it. I know it existed. I saw a couple, but
I knew a couple of advertisements. I thought it was going to come out like in 2016, maybe. I'm like, I don't know, this isn't coming anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But it came out like the day I saw all the advertisements. So either they didn't advertise very well, or I just wasn't paying attention. But I also don't watch TV. I also have ad block on my computer.
Yeah, all of these things we kind of try and distance ourselves from ads.
So I mean, maybe they did do a good job of advertising, but I didn't see it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it had the smallest opening weekend, which is still at $101 million, which is still pretty good.
That's a big chunk of change.
But of all the four movies, that's only 64% of what the highest one was, which is Catching Fire,
mm-hmm.
which makes a lot of sense. It's the second one, because the first one did really well. Like I said, it was good.
It built up a reputation. People were like, man, I want to read the books. And they got into
mm-hmm.
it and loved it.
And then I went and saw the second one in theater. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And Catching Fire.
I think we watched it together.
$158 million on opening weekend.
Yeah.
And it was good, but it also ended in a very big cliffhanger. I'm like, that's super weird. Because I didn't, like I said, I haven't read the books.
Yeah. It takes a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It goes from specifically the Hunger Games to then shifting into this weird, like, they got captured by these rebels that you had no idea even existed.
Right.
Which, like, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it just comes out of nowhere, you know?
Comes out of left field.
It does.
I'm going to compare these, like I said, to these other ones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Twilight. Twilight had 5 movies. Harry Potter had 8. And Lord of the Rings, I put them in two separate sections. The first 3 and the last 3, the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
By the way, the Hobbit did poor.
Yeah, it's because it sucked.
Compared to, like, Hunger Games. But I thought people liked The Hobbit. Did people not like The Hobbit? Or is it just they upset because they made 3 movies out of a small book?
There are a lot of reasons why people don't like The Hobbit. I would say, on a side note, like personally, I thought The Hobbit was fine, but it could have been a lot better. I felt like
they used a lot more green screen than in the original one where they like went on location.
It seemed kind of cheesy in terms of the effects, right? They tried using that higher resolution filming,
mm-hmm.
And all it did, if you went and saw it, which it went at like a faster frame rate, mm-hmm. And then it was like super HD. It just made everyone aware of all the makeup that was on the characters, and made it look fake, mm-hmm. which is not what you want.
Right.
It was fake to the point of distraction.
Okay.
And they just used a lot of CGI and everything. And I also just read something from that Peter Jackson, like an interview from Peter Jackson, saying that he inherited those movies from Del Toro, who was going to be the person who directed it. Mm-hmm. And he usually, like when he prepared for Lord of the Rings, he had a year and a half before filming started to prepare for the movies and get everything ready and get all his ideas flushed out and check them with the books and everything. He had 21 days for The Hobbit, and he said he basically made things up on the fly. Yeah, and he said, and I think his quote was, "I had no idea what I was doing when I wrote it," which I saw a bunch of tweets about it. So I wouldn't say the Hobbits were terrible, but they weren't nearly as well received by fans as Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah. And Lord of the Rings trilogy came out so much earlier. I have dates on here. And most of these all came out within a year of each other. Which is another thing with the Hunger Games, the second one. Yeah. Mockingjay Part 1 and Mockingjay Part 2 are only a year apart from each other. Yeah. But I felt like it was like 2 years. Because I don't remember anything from Mockingjay Part 1 because there was nothing in it.
It was the worst. So I hated the third book and I hate the third movie. Yeah. Or like for Part 1, hated it. I'm going to be going into Part 2 probably with a negative expectation.
Yeah. part 1 was just so boring, and I didn't make me think about anything afterwards. So I felt like there's a bigger gap. But they both came out in November. Part 1 in 2014, Part 2 in 2015. So there's a year there, but it felt like much longer. To kind of go back in time, the originals, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King, all came out within the year of each other. All came out in December. The last movie, Return of the King, making the most money, as it should.
Which makes sense, because you're building fans every time that you go.
And you're building to a giant climax.
Yeah.
And they made $72.6 million. So that's a lot less than Hunger Games.
Right.
Well, that was also...
Is that adjusted for inflation?
I don't think so. But that was 12 years before the Hunger Games came out.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember seeing Two Towers in theaters. And it was me and my friend and my mom. And it was a rainy day. And it was late at night, kind of. And when we came out, I'm like, my friend, I was like, oh, who do you want to be? He's like, oh, I want to be Aragorn. I'm like, oh, that's cool, I want to be Legolas. And then on the way back, we, like, pretended to shoot arrows at cars behind us. And stuff. Like, that's what we did. It was super fun.
Yep, I remember playing in elementary school after the first one came out. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade when the first one came out. We used to play on the playground, and we'd all pick characters and fight orcs, and, like...
Yeah.
It was the coolest.
So it was huge. It's that big fan base that... and it's more geared towards men. Boys.
I would say so.
As opposed to Twilight, that's for girls.
If we can generalize, yeah.
And
obviously
then
there are exceptions.
Harry Potter is almost...
It's for both.
It's in both. And
I would say
Hunger Games is also for both, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think... I'm afraid to, like, assign a gender to any of them. Just because there are so many great characters in both stories that I think guys and girls...
Both stories of Harry Potter and Hunger Games?
And Lord of the Rings.
Not Twilight.
I hate Twilight. Everyone should hate Twilight.
Everyone should hate Twilight.
And
if you don't hate Twilight, you should hate 50 Shades of Grey, because it's fan fiction of Twilight made into a book, made into a movie. I don't know if you knew that. I've told you before, but I'm going to remind you.
I have no interest in knowing anything about 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, so Return of the King made the most. So in contrast, obviously, Mockingjay Part 2 made the least opening weekend.
Yeah.
Harry Potter... It made the most. Again, the last one, Deathly Hallows Part 2, 170 million,
which was epic. I remember people going crazy about going to see that movie.
Deathly Hallows Part 2, Deathly Hallows Part 1. They were literally just camping the whole time, but they still made the second most on that one.
So looking at all these numbers, can we make a prediction right now? A guesstimate on what Star Wars Episode 7 is going to have?
Not yet.
I want to so bad.
We'll get there.
Can we? Look at all these numbers.
Twilight, their biggest opener was New Moon, their second movie. And I think the first movie, people went and saw it and like, well, this is all right. People didn't really know about Twilight when the first movie dropped. And then after the first movie dropped, people started reading the books. They're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Even though they shouldn't have. That's when they went to New Moon, where New Moon made double of what Twilight, the first movie, made. And then everything else went downhill. To where Part 2 of Breaking... It's called Breaking Dawn, but on my notes I put Breaking Wind.
Which is essentially what happens the entire movie.
Yeah, so Part 2 of Breaking Wind, they made $141 million, which is just under New Moon, but it's also like the final part.
Final installment, right.
Oddly enough, Part 1 of that, they made $41 million. So $100 million less than Part 2. So obviously something happened.
Something did happen.
But... So, these are just some numbers that I put together. Let's see. Twilight came out within a year of each other for most parts. Hunger Games came out within a year of each other. Harry Potter came out essentially a year and a half from each other until the end where they kind of got a strut going and they went year by year.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter, their final installment blew Hunger Games out of the water. Twilight blew Hunger Games out of the water. Really the only thing that competed that Hunger Games beat was the Hobbit series,
right?
Which came out in the same years.
Yeah. And
then Lord of the Rings, but that's not adjusted for inflation.
Right. I don't know how much inflation happens in 10 years.
12 years.
12 years. So, I mean, usually it's like 3%, 4%.
Yeah. So not a whole bunch, but I would think that if they re-released Lord of the Rings in theaters, would you go see it?
Oh, yeah.
I would go see it.
They did like an HD remaster of everything. Like,
what if they did the extended version, the 4-hour version? Would you go see it?
No, I don't like the 4-hour versions. I like the original version better. the cut version because I've read the books 3 times through.
Oh yeah.
I don't need all those extra details to make the story vibrant.
Yeah.
I already have the vibrant story. I need it to be digestible.
Yeah.
So I really only have a problem with the first episode 1, the Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition, because that one already is the slowest one to me, and it makes all the scenes that are added are just like talking scenes.
And the Circle of Elrond or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Meeting. And
then I just get really bored. Which, if you've read the books, that's also the boring part of the books. It's like half of Fellowship of the Ring is just the Council of Elrond, and you're like, oh my gosh, let's get through it.
So, of these 5 things we have here, which one is your favorite? Probably Lord of the Rings.
One movie or series?
Series. So we're counting the original trilogy, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit as separate, Twilight, Harry Potter, Hunger Games. What's your favorite?
I would have to say Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I would have to say
Harry Potter is the only series that I read the books to.
Yeah, and I haven't. See, that's the thing. I haven't read the books for Harry Potter, and I feel like if I had gotten on the Harry Potter train,
you would love it.
I would love it, but I never did.
I did get on the Harry Potter
and I've
train.
read I've seen all the movies, and I enjoyed the movies.
Yeah.
But it didn't enthrall me like Lord of the Rings did.
I got on the Harry Potter train, but I still think I like Lord of the Rings more. But Lord of the Rings is more of like an action flick.
Yeah.
Where Harry Potter is a little childish at times.
It's more fantastical. Right?
Yeah. It's fantastical and a little childish, where Lord of the Rings is like...
It's more serious. Mm-hmm. And I love it just because it just forces a lot of situations where it shows character and builds character and has character development, especially Aragorn.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see Aragorn from Fellowship of the Ring to Aragorn at the end of Return of the King, and you see a huge transition. And there's a lot of serious tone.
What transition are you talking about?
Him from Ranger, who goes away from his birthright and wants to hide away from the world, to leading the armies of men against Sauron.
Oh, yeah.
Because he rejected that life. He didn't want it. And he was in hiding and wanted to just do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he keeps taking on this mantle of responsibility as he sees problems arise. And he goes through all those trials and errors, and he gets, tempted by the ring, and he has to go through that as Isildur's heir. So, there's a lot of that. But I feel like we need to talk about Hunger Games Part 3, Part 2 of the third book.
Yes. However, you want to make a prediction about what Star Wars is going to do real quick?
Okay, so first off, the leading box office opening weekend of 2015...
Of all time.
And of all time is a movie that I saw in opening weekend.
So you contributed.
I did contribute to this, at least $10.
It was opening weekend of Jurassic World. They sold $204 million worth opening weekend in USA. The one before... But
one before it, I think, was the Avengers.
It is Avengers, and Avengers says they sold $207 million.
Was that international?
No, that's USA? Open weekend in USA. This is opening weekend in USA. So I don't know what's going on. But Jurassic World, I think, officially broke the title.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
I don't understand how Jurassic World did that. Because
I don't either.
Jurassic Park...
Which, it was a great movie. I enjoyed it.
Jurassic Park broke the record when it first came out.
Right.
Because it was phenomenal. It was like something you've never seen before.
Groundbreaking.
But then Jurassic Park 2 and Jurassic Park 3 came out, and people were like, well, this kind of sucks.
Yeah. It's because it wasn't very good.
But then somehow, Jurassic World comes out, and people are like, this is incredible.
Well, it's a reboot, and it has Chris Pratt. And people at this point are riding the Chris Pratt train because...
because why wouldn't you?
Because Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on. And before that, Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Chris Pratt is awesome.
I love Chris Pratt.
I am on board with Chris Pratt.
I am still on that train. I'm on a lot of trains.
Okay, so Jurassic World,
Destroyed.
The gross for it was $650 million.
As of November 13th.
Yes. What do you think Star Wars is going to hit?
Opening weekend?
Yes. In the U.S.
250.
You think it's going to hit 250 million opening weekend?
They've already sold over $50 million worth of opening tickets. They've already pre-sales as of right now.
Hold on.
With, less than a month to go.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So opening weekend, I assume, counts from, if we're doing it backwards, from Sunday, the end of Sunday, so Monday morning, to when it opens. Yeah. Now, movies would open midnight on Thursday.
Yeah.
So you go on Friday. Yeah. Now they're opening it 2 hours early.
Yeah.
So there's like 2 or 3 showings before the actual release on that Friday.
Right.
So that has to affect the numbers somehow. having those extra showings.
I mean, in a positive way.
Yeah.
Assuming they count those towards it, which I'm sure they do. Yeah, I mean, that's been a thing for the past couple of years. It's been growing and becoming more popular. So I'm sure that does help the numbers. But my guess right now, 250.
250 million.
That's my guess.
Mm.
Grossing.
That's lower than I would expect you to say.
I was trying to keep it in the realm of reality.
What would you want to say?
I would want to say like 500 million.
700 million.
But grossing, you said Jurassic World grossed 630 million?
650.
650 million?
Mm-hmm.
My guess is Star Wars is going to gross $1 billion. $1 billion.
How many times are you going to see it?
At least 3 times.
At least 3 times?
Probably. Unless I'm completely destroyed.
The first time?
The first time because I'm so disappointed, in which case I don't know if I'll ever be even able to speak again. I may not even be able to come back to the podcast. I may have to quit my job.
All right, I'm doing the podcast. Well, you're going to be murdered, too.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Telling all our listeners out there to murder me.
I didn't tell them where you live.
I know. Do they even know where we live? Some of them do, because they know us. But not all of them.
Anyway, back to Hunger Games. I like I said, I have seen this. You have not yet, but you've read the books.
But I haven't read the books. Can I start with just my opinion of the third book?
Yeah, just start with your opinion of the whole series.
Okay, well, I read the whole thing in a week.
Yeah.
All 3.
So I assume they're good books if you can read them all 3 in a week.
Well, the first one took me in, and I loved it. I had to know what happened.
What was so good about it? Because like in the movie, I'm like, well, this is all right, but there's a whole bunch of back crap I don't care about.
You know, there's something about dystopian novels that I think a lot of people are into. I think it's fun to see. Well, people are attracted to good guys versus bad guys stories, and kind of the underdog story, which a lot of dystopian novels take.
Yep.
So there's that. Also, it's written in kind of teen fiction style, so it's not super heavy.
It's easy to read.
It's easy to read, not big words. The plot moved at a good pace, and I generally liked the characters. So it really enthralled me because at that point I remember thinking that I hadn't really read a book for fun in so long since I was in college.
Uh-huh.
I was like, man, I haven't read a book for fun in a long time. So I just started reading it like crazy, and I just wanted to know what happened.
How much was Gale in the first book?
He's in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then I think he's like mentioned a couple other times, but he's really not a main character. He's more like a side character.
Yeah. That's what I saw. Well, see, that's what's weird. That's what I saw from the movies.
Yeah. Is
that he's kind of a side character, and then towards the end, towards part 2 of Mockingjay, he's like a main character.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Like, I know you're there, but get out of here. Like, well, when you have a big effect.
My initial impression of all the books together is that I think the author hit the ball a home run with the first book.
Okay.
And I think with the second book, she took, I believe it was she, right? What's her name?
Suzanne Collins.
Suzanne Collins. She hit the ball out of the park in the first book. Second book, she kind of rehashed what happened in the first book. But
like a recap? Is what you mean?
Well, she just took it and made it scarier.
Okay.
Just because, like, at the end of the first book, you're like, oh, they made it to the Hunger Games. That's awesome. They never have to do that again. Live happily ever after. Except for then they get chosen again. Like, when does that happen in the storyline? Like, before that Hunger Game? It doesn't happen. So, it's like, oh my gosh, she's doing the same thing again.
And it's the 75th, right? Or right. It's like the 70th something.
Yeah, it's like a big anniversary, so they're going to do all the old heroes, which they hadn't done before. So I was like, at first I was like, I don't like that. But I did like some of the new characters. I think his name is Finnick, that's it. Finnick. I liked Finnick.
See,
I like the old lady.
People like Finnick, and I think it's a book thing, because in the movie he doesn't really do anything.
I know. In the book, he's awesome.
And in the movie, he doesn't do anything. And in part 3 of the movie, he's there. And Katniss is like, oh, Finnick, I missed you. You're such a big part of my life. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah. In the book, you just get into her head more. And there's a lot more interaction between all the characters in the book. Just because of the medium of a book. You have more time. You can go slower through it. But Finnick, starts off as kind of finicky. Hey, you don't really, in the training sequences and things, you kind of don't have a connection to him, and you kind of see him as a threat. But then once you actually get into the Hunger Games, he kind of joins in allies with them, and then you kind of see his character as how he takes care of the old lady from his district.
Which they did well.
Which they did very well in the movie. Which made me cry.
Made you cry?
Wow, I got the lump in the
When
throat.
she died?
Yeah.
I don't remember how she died.
She sacrificed herself.
Oh, for them?
Yeah. So, the second book, I still enjoyed the second book. And it made me excited at the end because it was a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh, look, they went off with the people, and they're going to rebel against the Capitol. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But then the third book happened. And I felt like, first off, a comment on the writing. I thought the writing of the third book, to me, it felt rushed. It did not feel like it had the same flow and style of the first two books. I felt that, honestly, and I don't know Suzanne very well. I've never met her in my life.
You know her well enough to be on a first name basis.
And I'm sure that she's a really nice lady, but I feel like she was kind of forced into making it too fast because she had all the success. And maybe she even was like burnt out of it or something. Because I just did not like the writing. And I don't like what the plot did. I really don't. It's the Hunger Games again, except for it's when they're invading the Capitol.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a cool way, like, that, I mean, that was pretty cool. Like, a cool concept. But how they played it out, and with, like, Katniss, sneaking around the Capitol at the end, and all the children, and Snow. I just didn't like what happened with the children and Snow, President Snow.
What happened in the book?
He kills them.
Snow does?
Prim, yeah. Right?
He kills Prim?
Yeah. And, like, a bunch of kids, I thought.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've heard
in the movies, there was a president of the rebellion.
Yeah.
And there's President Snow. And they're outside President Snow's mansion. And they're all funneled into, like, the gates of the mansion.
Yeah.
And Snow's like, come, all the survivors come in and I'll protect you, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then these bombs drop on him.
Mm-hmm.
And it kills all these people, kills all these civilians.
Yeah.
And then... Katniss is there and she wakes up afterwards and she's obviously not hurt because she's Katniss.
Yeah.
And then Prim is there and she's part of the medical team and there's a second bomb that goes off and kills everybody.
Yeah.
Except for Katniss, of course.
Because she's invincible.
Right.
Because she's Katniss.
So I don't know if that's what happened in the book. I assume it was something very close to that.
Yeah. Essentially,
but Gale essentially came up with that idea to use that for the rebels to use that, and it turns out that Snow didn't call for that to happen. It was the rebel president that called for that to happen.
See, I'm not sure exactly how that went down in the books because my impression, and it's been
years,
4.5 years since I've read these books, but I thought Snow killed all of them, which made me hate.
It was this big media war between the rebel president and Snow, to where the rebel president blew up all these people, and people just thought it was Snow, so they rebelled against Snow and murdered him. And then she got off scot-free. And then at the very end of the movie, Katniss killed the rebel president. And then they had an election.
Gotcha.
And
Katniss was elected.
No. Some general won.
Okay.
But.
Interesting.
Like, the ending was... There were parts of the movie that I felt genuine emotion, even though there was people I didn't care about. Like... There's this part in the sewers where I felt really tense when these things were happening.
Yeah, I remember the sewers.
Something made me a little choked up, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have some notes here, and like I said, the story was a little unexpected because I haven't read the books. I kind of expected Hunger Games 1 was them going to the Hunger Games, them being in the Hunger Games, never happening again. Mm-hmm. I expected that for the next two movies. That didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Like, it took a completely different turn. Mm-hmm. It was an unexpected story. There were characters I didn't care about. Prim. Again,
you didn't care about Prim?
Not really. My only experience was the movies. And the movie is Katniss and Peeta go to training, go to the Hunger Games, come home. That's it. There's not really room for secondary characters, except for everyone that's in the Capitol.
Right.
Haymitch,
Elfie,
the guy that made her dress, which died in the part one.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, that sucks that he died, because he was part of the rebellion.
Right.
But other than that, I didn't care about these. I didn't care about Gale. I didn't care about these other characters. Her combatants, Finnick, I knew that he was important, but I didn't so much care about him. Because he was an enemy first. The world design was really cool, though. The games itself were a cool idea and cool. And then the fact that they kind of brought it on into the capital city They had like flamethrowers and other things.
Right, lots of traps.
Yeah, it was cool. Philip Seymour Hoffman died in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily they got enough shots of him in beforehand. But they did have to CGI him at the end.
They did.
You could tell. And at the very end of the movie, there is a letter that Hamish reads to Katniss from Hoffman.
Yeah.
I can't remember his real name. Plutarch or something.
Yeah.
And I guess that was supposed to be Plutarch actually addressing her, but he was dead, so they just wrote her a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it seems like there was a big time gap between part 1 and part 2, and it was only a year, but I just felt like because nothing happened.
The first part 1 of the movies, and I haven't seen part 2, but part 1 first off, I feel like movie production companies keep splitting up movies into more and more, like with less and less content in each one. And that drives me insane because I spent $10 or $15, and me usually $25 because I end up getting like large popcorn and drink and everything. I spent all this money to go to the movies, and then you tell me you don't give me any of the story. Remember when Pirates of the Caribbean 2 came out? It ended. Was it the second one? Or was it the third? I can't remember. There's so many of them. I think it was the second one. At the end, it ended with a "to be continued."
Did it?
At the bottom.
That's funny.
I was so mad. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
But there was a lot of stuff that happened in Pirates of the Caribbean too.
I mean, not other than like Jack Sparrow dying.
Yeah, but
not really.
Avengers ends with the Avengers will return. Does that upset you?
No, because that completed the storyline.
Because there was a whole story.
Yeah, like the second thing had Davy Jones coming around.
Mm-hmm.
You meeting Bootstrap Bill.
Bootstraps.
And then Jack Sparrow dies. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I guess we gotta stop Davy Jones.
Oh no! At the very end, they go to the witch's place.
Yeah, and then Barbossa comes back.
Barbossa comes down.
And that was cool. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But it said to be continued. I was like, why is this movie over? Why do we have to wait another movie? They just spent the whole movie setting up the bad guy. That's it.
I guess so.
I want a complete story when I go see a movie.
So Civil War is going to be 2 parts.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to like it.
We're not there yet. We'll talk about it in a minute.
So, by the way, the first part of Hunger Games, episode 3, part 1.
Mockingjay, part 1.
Mockingjay, part 1, I did not like because, and I understand kind of why they did it, because in the book she gets really in her head during this time period. But I don't want to see that on a movie screen. I don't want to see her in her head. The movie is an action movie for a reason. It's because it's entertaining, and they didn't design the movie to be like really in her head that much. Like you see her going through some terrible situations, but it's a freaking action movie. And what happens in it is they try and control her the whole time. There's lots of dialogue, and then there's like some meaningless fighting. Yeah. And then at the very end, they get PETA, and he's just mad. Yeah. I was like,
yeah, that's part of it. Like, there's always this Gale versus PETA thing, and also like PETA got captured and was brainwashed, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't remember when he got captured, and I guess they brainwashed him, even though they only had him for like a month.
Right.
But one of the whole subplots of part 2 is PETA's brainwashed, trying to kill Katniss, and Katniss won't let him go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, what is happening? Like, when did he get brainwashed? How do they have time for this? Mm-hmm. I know that the part 1 was them getting PETA back, but I don't remember anything about the Capitol taking PETA.
I think it happened at the end of 2.
I don't know. That makes sense. Maybe when she broke the Hunger Games.
Yeah, when she broke it, because she wasn't right next to him when it happened, and they like pull her up into the helicopter, but he gets left behind, I think. And then she gets mad because they left him behind.
I don't know. But it's Gale versus PETA, which...
You don't care about Gale. And
you don't care about Gale.
Which I really don't either.
In the movie, he's not around. And you're supposed to feel like, oh my gosh, Katniss has this love triangle. Gale is the love of her life, but PETA has been there, and PETA's been helping her. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, I don't feel that at all. Like, this is supposed to be here, but there's nothing going on with Gale.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. I'm on the same team as you with that. And I'm on Team PETA, by the way. If it's PETA versus Gale, I like PETA better.
Oh, I like
because Gale, like you said, isn't really that big of a character.
I like Gale, I guess.
I mean, he seems like a cool guy, and he took care of her family.
I like Katniss. Really? I mean, Katniss is pretty cool. However, really Katniss went from someone that has like this destiny to win the Hunger Games to just being like a normal person. which I kind of like, but I also kind of didn't expect. Because I kind of expected Katniss to be, like, the most powerful person in the universe, like, in this universe. Like, she can do whatever she wants.
More of, like, a superhero than just, like, because she becomes a symbol.
Yeah.
But she doesn't even want to be a symbol.
Yeah.
And so she kind of, like, fights it the whole time.
But she's not, like, super at all.
Yeah.
Like, she still makes mistakes, and she still fumbles, which I think is kind of cool. Yeah. She doesn't have everything figured out. She's just trying to... She tries to kill Snow. That's her that's her whole goal.
That's what she wants.
Is to kill Snow. For whatever reason, because Snow did something to her personally, I guess.
Well, I mean, the Hunger Games.
I mean... But she wasn't... like, Snow didn't choose her.
Right.
Snow didn't choose Primrose.
That's true, but he makes the Hunger Games happen. And she kind of, I don't know, gives the middle finger to the Capitol in how she rebels against everything. Like, the Capitol wants her to, you know...
I guess, yeah.
Do all those things, and she keeps, like, snuffing them. And so it becomes, like, a personal thing.
Is there an epilogue in the book of what happens after Snow dies and everything?
I can't remember.
Because in the movie, it shows... Which has been happening with so many things recently. Harry Potter, Twilight... Luckily not Lord of the Rings, although I always fall asleep at the end of Return of the King, because it's like an hour of extra stuff. An epilogue of these people getting married and having kids. It's always 2 kids. Let's talk a second about Twilight. And what little I know about Twilight. At the very end of Twilight, Bella and Edward have a child.
Yeah.
And then Jacob falls in love with that child, that infant child. And then I think they grow up and they get married.
What? It's so weird.
Isn't that weird? So, Jacob, who was making out with Bella, then falls in love with Bella's daughter.
Yeah, I was making out with your mom like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's so weird. So that's that's the end of Twilight.
I hate that.
But at the end of Hunger Games, Peeta and Katniss get together, and they have kids. And they both look... Well, Peeta looks happy because he got to marry Katniss, and Katniss still looks, like, sad.
Because she's always sad.
Yeah, Katniss has always been sad.
She's always, like, depressed and sad and... introverted, so.
What I did really like is the movie immediately starts. There's no opening credits. There's no opening logos. It went from trailer to Gale and Katniss, I think.
Yeah. That's nice.
It was super nice. There's like trailer, black screen, movie. No opening credits or anything.
I like it.
So I like that a lot.
I like it a lot.
I got right into it.
Good. As a sequel should.
So
all sequels should do.
Part 2, there's part 1, part 2 of Harry Potter, part 1, part 2 Twilight, part 1, part 2 of Hunger Games. Part 1, part 2 of Civil War.
Civil War trailer dropped.
Civil War trailer dropped. And your thoughts?
My thoughts, initially. I'm so on board the Star Wars train that I don't think I have enough emotions for any other trailer to make me excited. So I know my reaction is a little more reserved than yours. There's some cool stuff happening in the trailer. First off, I'm on Team Iron Man forever because he's my favorite superhero in the Marvel Universe. I know, and people always make fun of me for that. But you know what? I liked Iron Man before the Iron Man movie came out. Back when they had the cartoon Iron Man show, that's when Iron Man became my favorite. I had some toys. I loved him. So I'm claiming that I was a hipster of the Iron Man movement. So I like Iron Man a lot, and so I'm always going to be rooting for him. Though I do like Captain America as well. It seemed to me that the story has an emphasis on Bucky. And Bucky Barnes being...
The trailer.
Yeah, the trailer has an emphasis on that. And obviously, if you know anything about the Civil War from the comic book side, you know that the big contention is if superheroes should be registered and like controlled by the government. And Tony Stark is on the side of, yes, they should be...
Because in that first movie, he shows who he is.
Well, I mean...
But out of pride. That's literally out of pride.
But think of it this way, though. If we take this and compare it to the second Avengers movie, Iron Man tries to save the world and by making Ultron and doing all that stuff, and he almost caused the whole world to go under. Yeah. So maybe this is a check on himself.
And then he does literally the same thing and makes Vision. He doesn't learn from his mistakes. Literally the exact same thing and made Vision.
Okay, true. It worked out for him. But maybe...
He's 50-50.
He is... Okay,
he's 1 for 1.
Either way...
Technically 0 for 1 and then 1 for 1.
Either way, maybe he saw all that and was like, maybe we should have some control.
Checks and balances? But when does he ever follow the rules?
Well, maybe this is the start.
Maybe now he's starting...
Maybe this... I mean, characters progress.
I guess.
Tony Stark in the comics eventually becomes not an alcoholic, so he eventually gets over that.
Yeah, eventually.
Characters develop. It takes a long time.
But the trailer does seem very Bucky-centric.
It does.
But we have to remember that it's a Captain America movie, not an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So it's Captain America, and I think probably from his point of view.
I think
it's going to be centered around Captain America, and Iron Man will be there, and Falcon will be there, and War Machine will be there.
Yeah. And Black Panther will be there.
Black Panther is going to be there, which is cool.
Yeah.
It comes out in May 16th, May of 2016.
Yeah.
But the first scene where you see Tony Stark, he's in an elevator coming out, and he's talking to Captain America, and he's like, "Why are you so defensive?" And Captain's like, "What do you mean? Like, everyone's attacking me right now. Why wouldn't I be defensive?" But Tony Stark already has a black eye.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed. So something's been going on with Tony Stark to where I don't know what part of the movie that is.
Right.
But there's this awesome scene that I went crazy over.
It is pretty sick.
Bucky and Captain America are putting the smackdown on Iron Man.
Iron Man's destroyed.
They're throwing the shield at each other, and it's like Captain America throws it at Iron Man, it hits him, then Bucky catches it, and then he tosses it behind his back, and Captain America catches it, and they're punching him all at the same time.
2v1's not fair.
He's got an iron suit.
It's Captain America, and Bucky Barnes has the freaking titanium arm thingy.
I'm just saying, it was legit. That fight, all the fight scenes in Captain America: Winter Soldier were so good.
They were pretty awesome,
and I think,
which I thought, and I kind of get this feeling with a lot of superheroes. I'm like, wow, their power is very one-dimensional, so it's going to be really hard to make their power seem cool in the long run. I thought that with the Flash. I thought that with Green Arrow.
He just runs fast. He just shoots things.
Right. But they make it so much fun.
With Captain America?
And Captain America does such a good job because he throws shields around. And it's a lot of fun. And he fights. So the trailer, that fight scene, pretty good. Not gonna lie. Did enjoy that. I'm not really into the Falcon that much. He's okay. I feel more...
There are some really cool scenes, though, where the Falcon... I know the Falcon flies, and he does stuff like that. And in Ant-Man, he had... Have you seen Ant-Man yet?
I have.
He fights Ant-Man a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't have a lot of powers, but there is this really cool scene where he, does this double kick and, flies and does all this stuff.
I feel more attached to Rhodey, the War Machine.
Oh, really?
Than I do to the Falcon.
How come?
Because I've seen Rhodey in more... Because he's in all the Iron Man movies, and I love the Iron Man movies. And I just like the fight scene in Iron Man 2 against all the drones.
Oh, yeah.
Where they come together and they
tag team and do that big laser thing.
Oh, man, it's like the coolest scene. I love that scene. So I just feel closer to Rhodey than I do the Falcon. So, not that the Falcon isn't cool, but War Machine seems way more hardcore than the Falcon. Because everything the Falcon can do, the War Machine can do, except for better, because he has an iron suit.
Yeah, because he can fly and has guns and stuff. But I think Falcon's supposed to be faster.
Okay.
Which would make sense. And he's more agile.
Well, it would make sense, because he's lighter.
He's more agile.
Yeah.
The same people that directed Winter Soldier also direct Civil War. Okay. So the Russo brothers, Anthony Russo and Joe Russo, same writer, same screenplay person. So you can expect big things from Civil War. And I expect big things from Civil War.
It'll be good.
I'm super excited.
I haven't seen a Marvel movie that's completely disappointed me.
Of recent years.
In the past, yes.
Spider-Man 3.
Okay. We don't have... Those are the dark
Daredevil.
Stop.
Some Hulk movies.
They're stabbing me. Oh, the Hulk. Ugh. Since post-Iron Man.
Since
Iron Man. Since the
MCU Phase 1.
Yes. Has not disappointed me.
Right. And, man, I really want to watch the trailer. We watched the video of 6 Things You Might Have Missed. It's a video by Mr. Sunday Movies. He did 6 Things You Might Have Missed on the Civil War trailer. We watched that. Scarlett Johansson is in there, which I literally missed her the first time I watched it. I didn't see her at all.
It's because you were too excited about everything else.
Things are going down. So it looks like, if I remember correctly, on Captain America's team, Captain America, Falcon, Bucky, obviously, there is the Scarlet Witch. And I want to say there's one more. It might be Black Panther. And then on Iron Man's team, literally all I saw was Iron Man and War Machine. I assume Black Widow's on there somewhere. Yeah. Hawkeye might make an appearance.
I saw Hawkeye in the trailer. I thought he was with Captain America.
Hawkeye was running away in the airport with Scarlet Witch, but I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where all the lines are drawn. I think it's pretty obvious War Machine and Iron Man are together, and then Falcon and Captain America are together.
Yeah,
and Bucky Barnes, but I'm not sure where all the other lines are drawn.
There's this scene...
And can please Spider-Man be in it? Please.
He's going to be in it.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, my I'm so excited.
That
makes me more excited now.
Excited. There's a scene where War Machine, his arc reactor is ripped out of his chest.
Yeah,
and
it looks like he's dead.
He looks dead, but that's not what keeps him alive.
Right,
like,
he should not be dead from that.
Iron Stark. That keeps Tony Stark alive.
Wow.
Tony Man.
Yeah.
Iron Stark, Tony Man.
I would be very sad if Rhodey dies. Why would you spoil that in a trailer?
I don't think they would.
I bet he's just knocked out. I hope he's just knocked out.
But Iron Man looks really sad. That could be the very end of the movie, to where Iron Man wants to get revenge.
Yeah, it could. That could be a good motivational tool.
But there's a clip where Bucky is fighting Iron Man, and Bucky goes straight for the arc reactor in Tony's chest.
Right.
And then it cuts to the scene where War Machine's on the ground with no arc reactor.
So it's obvious that it was not effective against Tony Stark, I think. Because what I'm guessing happens is Bucky Barnes does that against the War Machine, and it works, and he tries it against Iron Man, and Iron Man's too smart for that.
You think?
That's my guess.
I think he does it to War Machine first, but wouldn't Tony Stark make them both indestructible in the arc reactor?
Well, first off, the War Machine is an older model than what Iron Man has. Then,
what do you mean it's an older model?
And Rhodey is not as clever as Iron Man is.
Well,
not even close.
But an older model?
Yeah.
Tony Stark makes a new suit once a month.
Yeah. He doesn't make that for the War Machine.
Why not?
Have you seen Iron Man 2?
You think they're not buddies?
They are buddies, but do you know how he got the War Machine suit? He made a suit when he was... No, was it Iron Man 3? I can't remember. Either way, he steals it from Tony Stark, and Tony's fine with it.
Yeah. So you don't think he's going to build applications to it?
No. Oh, they can upgrade it.
War Machine is in Avengers 2.
Right.
And it looks like he has upgrades.
No, it looks like the same one. I mean, he has the shoulder... I mean, all the upgrades he got from Justin Hammer is on there, which I'm sure that they fix. Because all those things are terrible. What is it? The divorced? The ex-wife, I think is what he called it. The little rocket that fails, which made me laugh so hard. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same basic suit that he stole.
You don't think there's any improvements? Fine.
I mean, I don't think Tony Stark made any improvements.
You think that's why Black Panther can rip his chest gear piece out?
Well, I think...
Or not Black Panther.
Here's the real reason. I mean, I think the one that nails it in the coffin is at the scene where Tony Stark is really sad with War Machine in his hand. He still has an arc reactor in his chest.
Yeah.
There's smoke in the background from the airport, which shows that it's the end of the battle, and it's still there. So that's why I think... That isn't effective.
Yeah, they showed a lot of people on Captain America's side, and not a lot of people on Iron Man's side. Yeah. I mean, Iron Man has S.H.I.E.L.D.
And he has the government, so...
And people with S.H.I.E.L.D., Crossbones is in there.
Yeah.
Which is the guy that fought Falcon at the end of Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and the helicopter or the plane or something. Or it's the helicopter.
It's not the helicarrier. I don't think it might be this.
No, it is the helicarrier that's crashing
into the building.
And
the building that they're fighting in.
Yeah. So Crossbones is in it. I'm trying to think who else would be in it, but
Spider-Man might be on Tony Stark's side in the beginning.
But he goes back and forth.
I know.
In the
he
comics.
Starts at Tony Stark, but in the first, if it's a 2-part movie, the first movie can be Spider-Man on Tony Stark, and the second movie can be Captain America. However, the turning point is someone on Captain America's side dies in the comics, and the trailer shows Captain America in the lead the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it looks like. It looks like he's winning the fight.
Yeah. But
then on the airport, you see Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye running away from all these missiles.
Right.
So maybe they're not in the lead.
Maybe not.
But then there's also that scene where Captain America and Bucky are destroying Iron Man in the sewers or whatever.
Or whatever room they're in. It's
2-on-1 and they're completely destroying him.
Yeah.
So what happens? Because Captain America should be losing the first part.
Mm. I don't know.
And I think he will, but I don't know.
Well, do you think the movies are going to reflect the comics very well?
Yeah, they generally do.
I mean, the basic storyline, yeah, but I don't really know. It's too much. It's too much to handle. We don't have enough information to make any valid conclusions, I think. But we can be hyped about it. And I might have a couple toes on the Civil War train, but the rest of my body's on the Star Wars train.
See, I'm looking at the IMDb cast list, and Aunt May is on here.
She is?
Marissa Tomei. It's just Aunt May rumored. Leslie Bibb. I don't know who that's supposed to be. Falcon, Hawkeye, Vision. Oh, Vision, obviously, on Iron Man's side. I forgot about Vision.
Yeah.
Which is a big factor.
Yeah,
again,
Vision's awesome.
Thor and Hulk won't be in it, because Hulk is off in space with Thor.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Tom Holland is not rumored, it's confirmed. Tom Holland is Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Baron Zemo is going to be in there, it looks like. Interesting. So there's a lot of people.
It's a lot of hype, I think.
I don't know. If you haven't watched the trailer, go and watch it.
Go check it out.
It's legit. I'll probably watch it one more time.
Yep.
Because I'm super pumped.
This will be a topic that we'll bring up again in the future. So stay tuned for more information. Tony, you have anything else?
It just says that in the trivia, this features first appearance of Spider-Man / Peter Parker, played by Tom Holland in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the MCU. So it's official. He's going to be in it.
Spider-Man will be in it. Which is interesting. I'm going to miss Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss him as Spider-Man because I think he did an amazing job.
I went to Tom Holland's IMDb page, and one, it says Captain America Civil War post-production, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and another one is titled Untitled Spider-Man Reboot, announced.
Yeah.
Peter Parker and Spider-Man 2017. But that's a funny title.
I hope it's not another origin story.
It doesn't need to be.
There doesn't need to be an origin story.
But who's he going to fight? Because it's not going to be the Goblin again. It's not going to be Lizard. It's not going to be Doc Ock. Although I hope it's my favorite, Mysterio.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be legit.
That'd be pretty sick.
That's a lot of internal struggle.
Yeah. What if they based it off of Spider-Man Blue?
With Gwen?
Yeah. I guess that's kind of what they did with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I don't know.
Just not to the same extent.
It can be fun.
All right.
I'm trying to think of some Spider-Man villains right now, but I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. Well,
Sandman would be good again. Sandman was a good villain. I know they brought it up in Spider-Man 3, but
yeah,
I
but
like him.
that was a bad movie, so we could redo that and be okay with it.
Yeah. The Sinister Six. It might just be the Sinister Six.
Don't know.
Which is a lot for the first movie. Sinister Six is, if I can remember correctly, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, not Rhino, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, Venom. I don't know. Let me look up real quick. I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have one just Venom. That'd be sick.
Venom would be sick.
Because again, that was in the third of the Tobey Maguire ones, and I'm cool with that.
Okay, Kraven the Hunter, Electro, Green Goblin, Sandman, Falcon. Where are you? Vulture, Mysterio, and Doc Ock. So that's the Sinister Six, which they had alluded to in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you see Falcon, the Vulture's suit in Oscorp.
Yeah.
And you see some other stuff. But that just didn't happen.
Obviously. Yep. Well, thank you guys for listening. I think we're pretty much out of
topics for today.
Stuff to talk about. So thanks for listening, guys. As always, feel free to, or please do, like, comment, share, repost, tweet at us, send us letters over the internet, as Tony likes to say.
Write us letters. We
would love to hear back from you guys. We got a couple letters a few episodes ago, and it, I think, was a lot of fun for us to go through. So feel free to write us, tweet about us, join the community that we're trying to build.
We're on a couple websites. The biggest ones being iTunes and SoundCloud. I think most of our listens come from iTunes.
I think SoundCloud is actually our biggest.
Really?
Yeah. But iTunes is our second biggest.
We're on both.
We are definitely on both.
We're also on Twitter at UPGamersPodcast. Our email is underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. At SoundCloud and iTunes, just search for Underpaid Gamers, or even more specifically, Underpaid Gamers Podcast. I found out recently that if you Google search Underpaid Gamers, the first 5 links are us, which makes a lot of sense. However, if you search on Twitter for Underpaid Gamers, we are the first link, but there's a fake one. There's an old account from 2011 called the Underpaid Gamers.
And they're not active. They're not the real Underpaid Gamers.
Which is why we go up first, because we are active.
Because we're the best.
We're on Stickter.
And you might see us on Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And you'll know because we just made new emblems.
And it says Underpaid Gamers
Podcast. Our podcast. And the 4 games we played to get today, we were 1 and 2 each game. So we were doing some major advertising.
Yeah. And we're going to play, you're going to go home and we're going to play more.
And he got like all the kill games,
I assume.
too, which was really fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, so like this is kind of how it goes. Every time I play with Tony at Call of Duty, Tony's really good at Call of Duty. And I'm not bad by any means. But like today I was doing pretty well. Like I think my average KD today over the last 5 games was like 2.6, which is pretty good for me.
That's good for anyone.
And I was like, I think one of the matches I went like 38 and 8 or 38 and 9, and I was like, man, I did really good. I bet I beat Tony this time. And I looked and he was like 40 and 7. And I was like, gosh, dang it! And he's always number 1. I get like a 5,000 point score, and he's always got like 6,000. And it's always like a little bit more than me. So we were always 1 and 2 usually. So that's, he's usually number 1. I'm either 2 or 3 or 4. Or 5 or 6.
But you might see us.
And you might see us on there.
Notice by our emblem.
And you'll say, wow, that's such a cool emblem. I'm going to make one to advertise it as well.
There you go. Yay.
Be part of the community.
Thanks,
guys.
Follow us on Twitter. We're almost at 1,000. We're almost at 100 followers. Our total listens finally breached the 1,000 threshold on SoundCloud.
We had a small celebration.
We did. Individually.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for listening.
So thanks for helping us.
Have a good day.
Bye.